104 years is a celebration of where the church has been. We celebrate 104 years of struggle, 104 years of making a difference in the lives of individuals, 104 years of making God visible in this community. And so it's a celebration. However, we are also challenged by those 104 years. Those 104 years challenge us to continue to press on, to continue to make a difference in the lives of people. And I see it as a celebration, but also as a challenge to serve this present age.
When you drive down Lynch Street and you see, lots of closed businesses, lots of boarded up houses, the apartments across the street, they have a sign up that says no drugs.
Yes.
These are huge challenges. Is it something that you can only do in the church, or, do you have to reach out? Or talk to me about that. How do you attack those things?
Our mission is to go into all the world, not simply to come into the house of the Lord to pray and to worship, but to go and to have an impact in the lives of individuals. And so we come to church to fellowship and to worship God, but we depart from church to serve the people who are in need, to invest in our community, to make a difference in the lives of individuals. I always say to this church that in order for us to have an effective ministry, we have to know the hurts of people, and we have to minister where people are failing and where people are falling short. And that's our responsibility.
I wanted to ask you this as well, because this is another thing that I ask every pastor or priest that I meet. To me, the idea of God, who God is, what God is, it's a really mysterious type thing to me. It's really hard to understand, and honestly, every church community that I've been to, they understand that in similar ways, they understand it in very different ways, and a lot of places, say that they flat out can't understand it, and that's that. How does this church community connect its mission with God? How does your understanding as a pastor, you're sharing with these people, maybe how they're supposed to be living their lives, how do you do that?
Thank you so much. Jesus' mission statement in Luke chapter 4, verse 18, helps us to define what we are to be about. We are to preach the gospel to those who are oppressed. Jesus said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, to set at liberty those who are captive, to bring recovery of sight to the blind." And so when I see our mission, I see also the assignment that God has given us to continue to the work which Christ started, the work of making a difference in the lives of people. One of the things that I think is very, very important, not just for this church, but for all churches, to help people who are oppressed, those who are poor, those who are burdened. That's the only way God is going to be visible in the lives of people. When we help people where they are falling short. That's what Jesus did. That's what he did with the woman who was caught in the act of adultery. That's exactly what he did with the woman with the issue of blood. He did it for the people, and he did not always do it inside of the synagogue. He did it. He met people where they were. Our responsibility is to do likewise. I think it's very important for us to understand that all of our churches should have a unified purpose. There is no way Lynch Street is going to remedy the issues in Jackson, Mississippi alone until all of our churches and all of our pastors, priests, rabbis, all of us attack these issues together and work together in harmony, unify our efforts. There is no way we're going to do or reflect the true mission of Christ. It is a unified effort, and that's what our calling is. Our calling is not church. Our calling is kingdom, and it's a global purpose. It's a global mission, not an individual thing, and that's what we have to be about.
What message do you usually feel that you're left with? Is it a message of the mission that you're supposed to take out of the church, or is it a message of, God's love in your heart? Or when you're leaving church, basically, what is your feeling?
Well, I think it's a combination of all of the things that you've just mentioned. Many times when I'm in the church, and not only just doing the regular services, but also doing in Sunday school and Bible study, I receive messages that they have a direct impact on my daily life at work and at home, because none of us are perfect. We run into situations, and those messages, they tend to help me to handle the day-to-day and hour-to-hour activities of my life. And it also helps me with changing my life for those things that are not pleasing to God, and I don't mind saying that.
Yeah. This is one thing that I chat about with Pastor. You leave here, and you see the businesses that are boarded up, or you see the homes that are having issues. Right over here, the sign on it says no drugs.
Right.
There's obviously a lot of issues around here.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the church makes a difference, or is on its way to making a difference, and how so?
I believe that the church does make a difference. I believe that the church will and can make a difference. My professional background is urban and regional planning. And sometimes I always look at things, and especially communities, and more specifically the low-income, poverty-stricken Black neighborhoods and communities. I've seen this all over the country. I lived in California for 5 years, went to grad school there in Louisville, Kentucky for 3 years. I moved back here in '77 and I wrote the health plans for the state for 10 years. But if you don't plan, nothing will get accomplished. But even if you plan, you still have to implement the plan. You have to know what the situations are. We have some problems, and it's not just this neighborhood, but if you don't plan correctly, then nothing happens. I think I mentioned to you earlier that cities, counties, neighborhoods, communities, they have to have magnets to draw in those positive things in terms of industries, commercial businesses, even population, residents, housing. They also have to have magnets to maintain what is there, those positive things now. We're not talking about the negatives, because see, once you lose the magnets, you're going to lose those things that are very positive for your community and for your cities, like your industries and your businesses and your tax base, your population. This is happening right here in Jackson and Hinds County. It's happening not only just in those two places, it's happening in other places, and that's mainly because there are places that plan appropriately. Look at what's going on over in Rankin County with the new development, the outlet facility that's going up. Madison County is already concerned that it might lose population and that it could affect over 1,000 people, to leave there and go shopping. That's economics. They have a magnet there. They're putting up a magnet to draw in. A magnet draws, you see. A magnet draws. So that's what's happening here. And we have to make things happen in Jackson, in Hinds County. And to do that, you must have planning. And you must involve the people, because if the people are not involved in your planning process, they don't feel that they are a part of the plan.
Do you make an impact? If these are the things that, improve an area, how do you help drive that forward?
Well, I don't know if a church or group, a community group, neighborhood group, can actually or ever get control. What you want to do is to get involved. You see, you don't have control, you have involvement. And if you don't have involvement means participation. If you're not participating, then you're not involved. You can't ever have control, but you can have involvement through participation. Your participation is what's important. Your involvement is what's important. A lot of people, there are some planning efforts going on right now. I give my pastor copies of information that I receive in reference to a, quote, master plan for West Jackson. No one had ever heard of it other than the people who were involved with it. No one had ever heard of it. And don't leave me out of a planning process that involves me. You see, you must involve the people because it is not what you said should be done. It's what the people said should be done.
How do we tie this back to what's going on here? You know, this is in the middle of an area that's having some rougher times. You know, like how do you tie it back here?
Well, here again, the involvement is the most important thing. Lynch Street is an historical street. This neighborhood is historical. Jackson State University is one and a half block from this church. It sits in the center almost of this neighborhood. Jackson State has an urban and regional planning program that offers an undergraduate degree, master's degree, and PhD. Why isn't it involved in the planning process? Why doesn't it participate in that? Well, maybe because no one has asked. You see, if you don't ask the question, you can't get an answer. So involvement is the most important thing. I gave this term to a news reporter in Louisville, Kentucky when I first moved there. I was the first black professional city planner to ever work in that city, as well as San Jose, California. And I was asked the question, what is planning? And my definition was simple. Planning is people. Because it doesn't happen without people. Why do you plan? You plan for people. You construct houses because people reside in them. You construct and attract commercial, industrial, manufacturing businesses because people, they venture there. You do open space and parks because people, they participate in those activities. But if you don't have people, you have nothing. So you have to get people involved. You have to know what should be happening here. It's almost like Farris Street. Farris Street used to be the black economic mecca of Mississippi. What is it now?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. And it shouldn't take I've been back here 35 years. 35 years ago, a gentleman who was with the Business League asked me to look over a plan for Farris Street. And I looked over it and read through it and everything. And he said, what do you think about it, Lap? I said, well, it's a pretty good plan for wherever it was written. I said, it wasn't written for Farris Street. I said, because they forgot to, the outside consultants forgot to take the name of Birmingham off of the plan. Mm-hmm. So we get caught up in games. We get caught up and nothing ever happens. That's been 35 years ago. Farris Street hasn't been developed. I mean, look at it. In my opinion, it didn't take a company, a consulting firm from Annapolis, Maryland, to come here, Mary Means consulting firm, to come to Jackson and tell the people of Jackson what it needs, that it needs a district like Memphis, like Beale Street. No, let it be like it used to be. How did it become a black mecca? Put the same things there. You had a mixture of activities and events on Farris Street. You had doctor's office, you had a drugstore there, you had nightclubs, you had restaurants, you had everything. Why not revitalize that with the same thing you had? Why are you trying to put an entertainment district where there wasn't one?